SVG's impressive rookie season continues. 3 of the last 5 races he's got to win, continuing to prove that he is one of, if not the best, road course racer in NASCAR history. Let's talk about NASCAR in Sonoma. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about NASCAR in wine country, Northern California, Sonoma, for another road course race this NASCAR season. SVG gets his 3rd win of the year, his 3rd in the last 5 weeks, all of those coming on road courses. We'll talk about that, how impressive it is that he continues to dominate these road course races. It's insane what he's been able to do the last few weeks. We'll talk about that. We'll go through the top 10, talk about a few other drivers. We'll mention the in-season tournament, but we'll talk about that playoff grid as well, with only a few races remaining, getting closer to the end of the NASCAR regular season. Let's get into it. And first off, let's just break it down. SVG, Sonoma, this is the first time ever that SVG has ran a cup race in Sonoma, California on this racetrack. Once again, he's raced a few one-off races the last few years, but once again, this is his rookie season. We know he's won in 2023 at Chicago, but this is his rookie season, has not raced on every road course. First race in Sonoma today, was able to get the win on a racetrack that I believe they've been racing at since 1989, right? So close to the end of the Riverside era in NASCAR. They switched over to Sonoma. And then, of course, they've been racing there ever since, and Shane Van Gisbergen gets his first win. So, once again, this is maybe more impressive than the other ones, right? You look at Chicago street race, very tight corners, and unfamiliar racetrack. That's not a NASCAR road course, right? The street course of Chicago. That's just not NASCAR traditionally, right? That's not what these drivers are used to. I know that's the 3rd year of that event, but SVG has run all 3 as well as every other driver. Then you go to Mexico City, once again, a brand new racetrack. That's an F1 track. Really, once again, I wouldn't say that's a NASCAR racetrack, traditionally a NASCAR, because there's only 2 really traditional NASCAR road courses, Watkins Glen and especially Sonoma, right? That's a NASCAR road course. If that makes any sense to anybody, a NASCAR road course, Sonoma, it's a natural road course racing racetrack. And SVG goes out there and just dominates. Leads the most laps. Nobody can really get to him. Briscoe gave everything he had. Briscoe said it was like playing Michael Jordan in his prime. It was just extremely difficult, almost impossible to get to him. So that right there is impressive. This is probably the most impressive one so far. I think it was impressive he did it in Chicago in 2023 in his first ever race. That was phenomenal. The other 2 this year have also been phenomenal. But this is just a whole nother level. A racetrack every other driver's raced on for, some of those drivers raced on for over a decade. And to get beat by SVG in his first race at this racetrack, wow. I mean, the road course talent is impressive. He's more used to driving these race cars. He's better on ovals. How good can SVG get, right? I know he wants to get better on ovals. We'll see how good he can get. It seems like he's learning very quickly for somebody that's never done it. The amount of natural talent that he has at road courses is phenomenal, but just in these NASCAR Cup cars, these kind of stock cars, I know these aren't stock cars, but these, big, heavy cars like this is certainly extremely impressive, and that cannot go unsaid. What he's been able to do has been phenomenal. And, we look at the schedule coming up. We got Watkins Glen, very realistically could win at Watkins Glen. Once again, everybody else is stepping their game up to try to beat him. Who can beat SVG? That's one of the things I like about this, is building the storylines. SVG's the best at road courses. When we go to the next one, who can beat him? Can anyone beat him? Will it be possible? And that'll be something fun to watch. We got guys like Elliott, like Reddick, like Briscoe today that were trying everything they could to get him, just couldn't quite work out in this instance. So once again, just really impressive. Sonoma was a great racetrack today. Let's go through the entire top 10. So once again, Shane Van Gisbergen gets the win, 3rd win of the year. Chase Briscoe, heck of a run today by Chase Briscoe, right? That was something I think road courses has been a little bit of an uphill battle for him, especially at Sonoma over the last few years when he drove for Stewart-Haas Racing, then moved over to JGR. And I've been impressed by him as well. First year at Joe Gibbs Racing, already has a win a few weeks ago at Pocono, and of course running way better now. I think I've actually been impressed. I thought it wasn't going to go this well for Chase Briscoe when I looked back at Daytona in February. I didn't know it was going to be this well. They've had a lot of raw speed in qualifying anyway. Finished 2nd today. I like what Chase Briscoe's doing over there. I like what James Small's doing as well. Both of them have a lot to prove at this point in time. And, well, getting the win was big, but also just running consistently is big, too. Chase Elliott getting a nice third-place finish today, had fresher tires, but just didn't have enough time to get up to SVG. Once again, that was one guy in the fresher tires that might could have got up to him to try to race him. We never could really see that play out. We had a couple of cautions that might have sort of hurt his chances, that it might have helped him for all we know, really, but just didn't have enough laps to get up there and be able to get by him. It was unfortunate he actually drove into the grass a little bit, made a mistake it was 2 or 3 laps ago. I think it was 2 laps ago, ran off into the grass, lost the spot to Seabell. And that was unfortunate for Elliott. We never really got to see him get up there and battle for the win. Michael McDowell, nice 4th-place finish. McDowell always seems to do a little bit better on the road courses than he's done on the ovals his entire career. Once again, there's a lot more road courses now than we've seen over that. I talked about this in my video. Was it Thursday or Friday? But a lot more road courses now. Michael McDowell, a nice top 5 finish for him, 4th-place finish today. I would say not an ideal season for McDowell. We've seen better over the last few years in the next gen era than we've seen this season, but taking a 4th-place finish, I'm sure he'll take that today. Christopher Bell finishing in the 5th position. Good to see Bell kind of coming back up. It's been a rough few months for Christopher Bell. Hasn't been finishing very well, hasn't been in contention for the win, but a nice solid day today, finishing 5th. This is a driver with 3 wins in a row earlier this year, a championship contender, I would still say, Christopher Bell. So as we get later in the summer portion with some more familiar racetracks, expect to see Bell sort of ramp it back up, I would say. Tyler Reddick was frustrated after today's race. I think Tyler Reddick, the 45 team, had high expectations for every racetrack, but especially on these road courses. Once again, they put a lot of effort into this. Reddick's a good road course racer. His first few wins were on road. I think his first win ever was at Road America, which I mentioned that a lot because it was a track I really liked up in Wisconsin. That was his first career win. A couple more road courses after that. Got his first oval win at Texas that year. I think it was 2022 was the year it was. He also won at the Indianapolis road course. Unfortunately, both of those racetracks are no longer on the schedule for this year. But Reddick, the expectations for road courses are high. They have not been meeting those expectations, I would say, at any racetrack this season. I don't think 2311 has not won a race all year. That's a bit disappointing for them. We'll see if they can get back on track, but also not really in contention for them. It hasn't been like, Blaney's lost a bunch, or hasn't been Byron's lost a few. We've seen them up front, but not winning races, not even contending to win. Ty Gibbs finishing 7th position today. Nice run for him. He's been better on the road courses the last few weeks and short tracks as well the last few weeks or this season than he has on the bigger racetracks, the bigger ovals. William Byron, a nice 8th-place finish. Joey Logano with only, Joey Logano only has 1 road course win of his career at Watkins Glen, so he's never won any other road course, but did a solid run today at Sonoma, a top 10. I'm sure Joey Logano will take it. Has definitely not been a road course driver throughout his career. Kyle Busch actually able to surge up, come back in the top 10. It was a rough day for Kyle Busch. Started out really rough. Wasn't able to shoot. He wasn't even in the top 30 for a point in this race. That was just so slow on speed. Had a tough handling race car. Actually, started to make some moves. Got up to 15th, then spun out. Got involved in an accident. Lost more position. But came all the way back up to the end to finish 10th. Another top 10. 2 top 10s in a row for KB. So certainly, once again, trying to find light at the end of the tunnel for this team, but it's just rough at everywhere else right now for Kyle Busch. We'll see if maybe this boost of momentum can help him out moving forward, and we'll see what happens with that moving forward. Once again, I'm kind of talking about how everybody's season's gone overall. That's because we're 20 races in. This is the 20th race on the NASCAR schedule. 20 races in. Here's the playoff grid as it stands now. Kyle Larson with 3 wins. I don't know where Larson's been the last few weeks. We have not seen. If I look at drivers with raw speed, who is the fastest every week on raw speed, you look at Kyle Larson. It's no doubt Kyle Larson. For the last 2 or 3 years, really, maybe even since 2021, if you want to dive into it deep, who has overall been the fastest driver raw speed? Maybe William, maybe Denny at times, maybe Bell, but I look at Kyle Larson as the driver with the most raw speed over the last 5 years, maybe potentially. Been a while. He sort of lost it the last few. Ever since Indy, Charlotte double, it's sort of fallen off. Now, once again, it could just be a midsummer slump. That's probably what it is, but just need to note that he has not won a race in quite a while. It really hasn't been in contention to win one in quite some time for Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin with 3, Christopher Bell with 3. Once again, Denny Hamlin just always struggling on road courses. SVG with his 3 wins now, all on road courses. And we got a bunch of one-time winners there: Byron, Elliott, Blaney, Briscoe, Chastain, Logano, Cindric, and Josh Berry. Tyler Reddick, once again, 149 points in. He's safe. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know there's still 6 races. I don't see 4 different winners to knock him out. That's the only way he would get knocked out if there's 4 new winners that are not him. I don't see that. Tyler Reddick's going to make the playoffs off of points. I'll call that now. I could be proven wrong, but I'm very confident he'll make it in. It's a little bit closer for Buescher. Once again, you want to be 15th on the grid, so if there is another winner, that makes it only a 2-point difference between him and Bowman. That's why this is such a big deal. You have Daytona coming up. You have another road course, Watkins Glen. You got a few potential wild card races. You never know what can happen. You could definitely get another winner. You got Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch haven't won a race. And then Bubba Wallace only in by 3 points. Good strategy move, though, today by Bubba Wallace to get some points, staying out on one of the stage cautions. It was a rough week for them, but they sort of tried to turn this bad week into a win, and I think they did that with some stage points, putting themselves currently 3 points in the playoffs. Ryan Preece 3 points out after today. Kyle Busch gained on his gap as well, only 37 points out now. That's still, I think if you're Busch, Allmendinger, Gibbs, anybody below that, you're just looking at trying to get a win. That's the only way you'll probably make it in. At least you need to approach it, as that's the only way that you'll be able to make it in. Also, a quick look. Haven't looked at this all season on this show, at least. But here's the playoff points. Once again, 20 of the 26 races in. You could get bonus points, too, where you finish in the regular season. So once again, Larson with the most. SVG now with 17 playoff bonus points. That could take you far into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Certainly we have to continue to watch that moving forward as well. Once again, we do want to, I want to mention the in-season challenge. I haven't talked about it a whole lot the first few weeks. It hasn't been something I've followed very closely. It's been a bit difficult to follow. Once again, the first week just sort of wiped out all the favorites. That made it such a wild card from that point forward, but then we're down to 4 drivers now. Ty Dillon will race the 32nd seed. We'll race John Nemechek next week in the Final 4. Reddick faces Gibbs. You can take a look here. Ty Dillon actually kind of punts Alex Bowman out of the way at the end of this race to get that final spot. So certainly that was interesting. Maybe a little bit of action being taken from these drivers to advance better. You saw Bowman, Bubba last week going at it for the in-season challenge win. That was something I didn't think we'd see, but we did, so certainly applaud to that. We'll see who advances to the championship for Indianapolis and who wins the in-season tournament. This could be big for Ty Dillon. Somebody that's had a really rough season, has not ran well all year, to get some recognition for him and his sponsors. I think that is something that is big, because TNT, NASCAR, even if the drivers aren't that invested into it, which I think some of them are interested in. I don't know if they're that invested, but they are paying attention to it. Some of these drivers are. And then, of course, TNT and NASCAR have been promoting this as well. So this could be a big break, at least a good bit of momentum boost and attention for these drivers that otherwise wouldn't, because Ty Dillon's had a rough year, but this in-season challenge could help him out a lot. So that should be fun to watch. Once again, really like to dissect after 20 races. There were a couple of accidents today. We saw a wreck with Josh Berry closer to the end of the race. We saw Ryan Blaney get caught up in an accident. I don't know what happened here with Ty Gibbs in an accident with Buescher. Then some stuff happened on pit road after that. That was unfortunate for everybody involved there. It looks like Ty Gibbs actually did a great job explaining his position. Explaining why he had the right of way based off NASCAR's rules. And that was a great explanation in his post-race interview, explaining why it wasn't intentional. That was the big thing. And then, of course, why he did what he did. So certainly props to Ty Gibbs, because he didn't do anything to try to hurt somebody on pit road, which would be awful if we ever saw anyone attempt to do that or do it. So want to mention that first off. But we go to Dover next week, so back to the ovals, Monster Mile, concrete. I think it'll be fun next week. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm looking at Denny Hamlin, looking at Kyle Larson, maybe even Christopher Bell, to see what they can do next week in the NASCAR Cup Series. I want to continue to follow the point standings. Once again, just 6 races to go. Should be fun. But that's it, really, all there is to talk about. And, of course, about Kyle Busch. Back in the top 10 for a couple weeks. Let's get rowdy.